Marketers spend countless hours building feature sets only to lose the final sale over a single dollar. What if the most effective sales tool on your pricing page isn't the list of features, but the final digit of the price? Okay, let's really dive into this, because this little puzzle, it reveals something absolutely fundamental about how our minds work when we're deciding whether or not to buy.
You know, this is where that whole rational model of economics just completely breaks down. We love to think of ourselves as these logical shoppers, right? Carefully weighing the pros and cons like an accountant with a spreadsheet. But the data? Oh, the data tells a very different story. A product priced at $99 consistently outsells the exact same product at $100, and not by a little, by shocking margins. Now, this isn't some random quirk. It's actually a window into a hidden truth. Your pricing page? It's a battleground for cognitive biases, where the sale is won or lost not by logic, but by an instant gut-level shortcut that happens in the blink of an eye.
Okay, so logically, what's the difference here? It's a dollar. Trivial, right? But psychologically, the distance between them is this massive, gaping chasm. $99, that feels like a smart buy. It feels like a bargain. $100, though, that feels like a barrier. It's a psychological threshold you have to consciously decide to step over. And that chasm, that's exactly where the sale's won or lost. It's an illusion, but it's an illusion so powerful it can override every single feature you've listed and totally rewrite your sales forecast overnight.
So, how did we even get here? I mean, how did marketers figure out that this psychological gap was way more powerful than the actual math? Well, it all started, as these things often do, with a crisis.
See, back in the early days of software, companies just competed on features. Who had the most, who had the best. But pretty soon, every product started to look, well, basically the same. We call this feature parity. And when everything looks similar, sales just flatline. You can't just slap another bullet point on your feature list and expect to win anymore. So this crisis forced marketers to find a new, smarter edge. And the answer wasn't to change the product itself, but to change the perception of its price. They had to find clever ways to turn more of those maybes into yeses. And this is where behavioral economics came in and basically handed over a secret code. To really get why this all works so well, we have to pop the hood on the cognitive engine, so to speak. And look, it's not just one simple trick. It's more like a multi-layered psychological architecture built on 3 incredibly powerful biases. And they all work together to guide you, the customer, to a decision that feels like it was your own smart choice all along.
Okay, so these are the 3 core levers you need to know. First up, we've got the left digit effect. You might have heard it called charm pricing. That's the real magic behind that $99 price tag. Second, we have anchoring, which is all about setting a high reference point to make everything else look like a great deal. And third, the super clever, kinda sneaky decoy effect, which literally engineers a choice by making one option look like a no-brainer. Let's break them down, one by one.
All right, so the left digit effect. Here's how it works. Our brains read from left to right, and they do it fast. So that very first digit we see has this huge outsized impact. It sets a mental anchor before we've even processed the whole number. When you see $99, your brain goes 9 and immediately files it away in the 90-something mental bucket. But the second you see $100, your brain registers that 1 at the front and shoves it into a totally different, much more expensive 100-something bucket.
And this is what really gets to the heart of it. The customer isn't sitting there thinking, awesome, I saved $1. The effect is way deeper, it's subconscious. It's all about avoiding the cognitive pain of crossing a threshold. Think about it, the jump from 99 to 100 feels so much bigger than going from 98 to 99. Why? Because you're breaking a psychological barrier. You're going from 2 digits to 3. And to our speedy, shortcut-loving brain, that feels like a major, costly leap into a new category.
Okay, let's move on to the second lever and see how these things start to stack up. Anchoring. This bias is all about our tendency to just grab onto the very first piece of information we get and give it way too much weight. In pricing, this is huge. It means the first number a customer sees sets the standard for everything else they see. So if you show them a super high-priced enterprise plan first, that number becomes the anchor. And now every other price they see is judged against that, making them seem way more reasonable by comparison.
And now for the third and honestly, maybe the most cunning lever of them all, the decoy effect. This is where you really start to play chess. Imagine you have a basic plan and a pro plan. A customer is weighing them. Now, you introduce a third choice, the decoy. This decoy is strategically designed to be a pretty bad deal compared to just one of the other options. Its only job is to exist to make your target option look like an absolute, undeniable, why would I choose anything else bargain. Let me show you exactly what I mean.
Okay, look at this. This is how it works in the real world.
You see that plus plan in the middle? That's our Decoy. It's $50 more than the basic plan for just one extra feature. Okay, maybe. But now look at the Pro plan. For just $10 more than that Decoy, you get another crucial feature. All of a sudden, your brain stops comparing basic and pro. It instinctively zooms in on the comparison between Plus and Pro. And in that comparison, the Plus plan makes the Pro plan look like an unbelievable steal. It just totally wipes out indecision and nudges the customer right toward the very option you wanted them to pick from the start.
So, okay, we've seen the mechanics of how this works, but the big question is, why is it so darn effective? It's because every single one of these strategies is basically an engineered tool for justification. They're designed to tap right into our brain's most fundamental needs, to conserve energy, to avoid feeling like we lost out, and maybe most important of all, to feel like we just made a really, really smart choice.
You see, this entire system hinges on one core concept, and it's called relativity. The truth is, we humans are just terrible at judging absolute value. We literally have no idea what something is truly worth in a vacuum. Instead, we instinctively judge its value based on what's sitting right next to it. That means the context you provide isn't just important, it's everything.
I mean, look at this. $1,500. What do you think? Is that a lot? Is it a good deal? You can't say, right? It's impossible. On its own, that number has zero meaning. It's just floating out there in space. Your brain doesn't have a reference point, so it literally can't make a judgment call.
But watch this. Now, by simply putting an $8,000 enterprise plan right next to it, that $1,500 price is instantly reframed. That, right there, is the anchoring effect in its purest form. All of a sudden, $1,500 doesn't just feel reasonable, it feels like an absolute steal. We didn't change the price. We didn't change the product. We only changed its context. And by doing that, we've completely changed how you feel about its value.
So here's the bottom line, the real takeaway. All these strategies work because they create the path of least resistance for our brains. The left digit effect, that's an instant emotional win. It just feels cheaper. Anchoring and decoys, they give you that easy internal justification you're looking for. They let you tell yourself a quick story. Okay, I looked at the options and this one is clearly the smartest choice. I got the best deal. And what does that do? It reduces the mental effort, what scientists call cognitive load, and it makes the right choice feel easy and obvious. And that prevents that awful decision paralysis that kills so many sales.
Okay, so we've dug into the theory. We've basically cracked the code. So now, let's get practical. Let's translate these insights into a clear, actionable framework. How do you actually master this art of the bargain on your own pricing page? Really, it boils down to 3 simple steps. First, prioritize the threshold. Use those prices ending in 0.99 for your entry-level products because that's where breaking that first psychological barrier is the most important. Second, establish the anchor. Always show your highest priced option first or at least make it the most prominent. That big number is going to set the perception for everything else on the page. And third, engineer the choice. You've got to introduce that decoy plan, the one that's close in price but just a little bit worse in value than the plan you actually want people to buy. It forces the exact comparison you want and it makes your target plan look like the obvious hero. Ultimately, what this all means is that mastering pricing isn't about getting lost in complex spreadsheets or some old-school cost-plus calculation. It's about psychology. It's about understanding that a price isn't just a static number. It's a dynamic communication tool, one that you use to manage your customer's entire perception of value. You're not just selling a product here, you are literally designing the decision itself. And that brings us to the most essential insight of all. The goal here really isn't to trick people. It's to align with how our brains are already wired to make decisions. The choice to buy, it's so often driven by this deep-seated need we have for instant justification and emotional confidence. So by breaking those thresholds, setting the right anchors, and guiding the choice, you're not just selling a product, you're engineering a feeling. The feeling of a smart win. Because the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing at all, it just feels like you got a really great deal.